Willow Creek Springs presents Healthy Living with your host, Joe Grumbine.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and once again we have with us Dr. Robert Hoffman. Robert, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Joe. Glad. Thank you for having me.
You know, it's always a pleasure spending time with you because, you came with me to Dr. Song's appointment yesterday, and just our little conversations. We don't get a whole lot of time to hang out and talk, but the time that we do get to talk, I think you always bring up points that are so relevant. And we were talking yesterday about, the distractive nature of today's culture and how, people are spending their time watching TV and staring at computer screens and social media, this and all the,
Oh, it's AI.
yeah, and now it's AI, exactly. And in fact, over the weekend, we did another one of our, Native American ceremonies, and one of the elders that comes, he's a really smart guy, and he was talking about sunlight and, his belief about how it works, with the human body and the importance of it, and all these things. And I started talking to him a little bit about my diet because I just talked to everybody about my diet. And he was talking about how important it is to eat salmon. And I said, well, for somebody who doesn't have cancer, it can be really good. But if you do, it's like poison to me.
If you
Yeah,
don't, as good as it is, as healthy as it is, I think if you don't have cancer, it should be eaten in very, very occasionally at the most.
right, right. And I was trying to explain that to him because, he had this really strong belief about the fatty oils and all the good stuff, the good,
That's the given knowledge of the world.
right. And so I told him, I said, well, I said, look it up. I go, cancer has an addiction to methionine, and salmon in particular is very high in methionine. So to me, it's it's just it's a toxic food for me for that particular reason. And I said, maybe it's good for you, but just, take a look at this. And so it was interesting because this morning he sent me over an article that talked about, the value of these omega-3s and all these, these in elements that are in fatty fish like that. And then I could tell he had an AI generated report, and it had talked about, he had typed in, is there any danger of methionine to.
The AI doesn't know this.
It didn't. And in fact, it said, no, there's actually no problem. So what I did is I sent over one of your papers, and the one of the ones that I found, cancer's addiction to methionine, just a very, one of the older ones. And then I sent over my published report, and I said, just look at it. This is my reality. This is the world I live in. This is for real. I go, Dr. Hoffman's been researching this for over 60 years, and I work with him intimately. We spend a lot of time together, and you got to read this. This is important. And he did. And he acknowledged, that, he's looking at things on this quantum level and all this new sort of theoretical science that's out there. And I go, well, that's what it is. It's theoretical. And I go, maybe there's some truth to it. We don't know. And I said, let's work on testing and proving it, because that's the world I live in. And I got him to at least consider that the things I told him. I go, look, this is my reality. I go, I don't have cancer today because of what I did. And a big part of what I did was this diet and, the idea of keeping methionine low in my body. And it worked. You can't argue with that. And he agreed. So, an intelligent person who's got an open mind, if you can be, I don't know, articulate enough and present information in a way that is professional and peer reviewed and not AI, I mean, I told him, I go, AI is wrong a lot. And I says, and this time it's wrong. It's just straight up wrong. And, he didn't completely reject what I said. And hopefully he's going to consider it and enter that into his paradigm.
All the difference in methionine between an apple and its equivalent serving of salmon.
Exactly.
More than 500-fold different.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I eat a lot of apples and I don't eat salmon. Once in a great while, I'll take a bite of salmon and then I'll go and have, my methioninase 20 minutes later. And that's as far as I go. I love salmon, but, I'll give myself a bite every 4 months or something like that.
Patience.
Yeah. So I want to talk about evidence-based knowledge, and I want to talk more about the experiments that you've been doing and validating not only cancer's addiction to methionine, but the part that of the work that you've been doing lately that's really impressive to me and exciting is that when you have a low methionine environment or even the addition of methioninase along with other generally standard of care treatments, that they work so much better and you're proving it. And I think it's really, really exciting to think that, some of these treatments that, can work, chemotherapy, immunotherapy, hormone deprivation, even radiotherapy in certain cases, and different drugs, some of these repurposed drugs, all these different tools that people are using, but when you couple them with the low methionine diet and methioninase, the results are double, sometimes tenfold, many times more effective. We're finding out, and you're proving it. I'd like to hear more about this.
So this is an old story, Joe. Back in the mid-'80s, when Dr. Stern was in the lab, he did co-cultures of cancer and normal.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a protocol of, we didn't have methionase back then, just
Right.
low methionine or no methionine medium.
Mm-hmm.
So he worked out a protocol with the chemo and the low methionine medium, and he could eradicate the cancer cells from the co-culture and ended up with a beautiful culture of normal cells.
Nice.
That was published in 1986 in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute.
Wow.
And
That's 40 years ago.
there's a new paper out today. It'll be on PubMed in a couple weeks,
Nice.
couple days.
Okay.
Fast. Synergy of a low methionine diet and reduced dose cisplatin eradicates experimental lung cancer bone metastasis in a nude mouse model.
Wow.
So that'll hit PubMed probably tomorrow. And
That's one of the drugs I was taking.
that's for sure. And that you can see the bottom line there. That's the combination.
Wow.
Low tumor growth.
Just straight flat across the bottom.
Yeah. So cisplatin is one of your drugs. You were getting very high dose.
Right.
It could be, since you were on methionine restriction, you could have gotten a lower dose, but I understand.
I don't care. I got what I got. Yeah.
Make that risk for you. He
Exactly.
50 years experience of very high dose chemo and has gotten some great results with it. So he wasn't about to lower your dose, but
Oh,
in the future, think of these things for other people.
right. Well, and I think too that, the value of this is my body was able to handle the intensity of these drugs. Wasn't fun, wasn't easy, but I survived it. A lot of people don't. And so in a case where somebody was more frail or they were more susceptible to these pretty severe negative side effects, maybe knowing that you could go on a methionine restriction and methioninase and increase the effectiveness of a lower dose, maybe more people would survive.
Of course, more people would survive. You know, eh, the cancer treatment is regulated by standard of care. That's the big kind of world view. And then within that, different clinics or institutions have guidelines.
Right.
And unless, Dr. Song, as he told us once, I'm a private oncologist. I can do pretty much what I want.
Right.
But UCI, UCSD, Sloan Kettering, they're not going to do that. That's
Right.
against the guidelines. So no employee of those big institutions is going to go beyond the guidelines. So Dr. Castro, I'm not going to name the doctor, but he's a medical oncologist at UCLA. His nickname is Guidelines, blah, 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 his name, and then for that, guidelines.
Uh-huh.
And so that's not a compliment.
Right.
And, why you need him? You just go on AI and have some nurse give you the chemo. I mean,
Right.
that's, to be a guideline oncologist, I mean, seems pretty obsolete to me. Just need AI and that somebody like that very nice nurse and Dr. Song's Tui, who was so
Right.
kind and nice. That's all you need if you're just going to go guidelines, because everybody gets the same. If you have squamous cell carcinoma of the head and neck, you're going to get, probably your surgery first and chemo and radiation after, and everything's all mapped out for you.
Right.
God forbid.
Hi, this is Joe Grumbine, and I wanted to share an update. The platform that hosts this podcast has made some changes to the subscriber settings, and we have a number of subscriber-only episodes that we offer to the supporters, and for a minimum of $3 a month, we can get you signed up. And if you're already signed up and you're having some kind of trouble locating these episodes in the other platforms, I would say maybe the best answer is to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. I'm sorry for the hassle. I don't have any way to make a change, but I'm very grateful for all the support. Thank you.
Yeah, big time. God forbid is right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, and through our conversation, we talk a lot about the importance of the patient advocate, the importance of the patient responsibility to manage their own health. And it's
You can't do it.
they don't do it.
Can't, they won't. I get it. Cancer, when you get diagnosed with cancer, I don't need to tell you, it's so overwhelming.
Oh,
And
devastating. Yeah.
what to do. Who's going to challenge that? It takes a
Right.
very special personality and say, hey, wait a minute, doc.
Yeah.
Give me chemo first. You don't radiate me right away.
Right.
And that, who's going to do that beside you? It's the rare person that stands up to the medical oncologist and says no. And so it's tough, Joe. I say often, maybe I shouldn't say, and maybe it's not so true, but I say it anyway. The biggest enemy of the cancer patient is the oncologist. And, I think that's hyperbole, shouldn't say it, but I say it. because there's at least some truth in it.
All right. Agreed.
And
I mean, I went through half a dozen oncologists before I met Dr. Song.
yeah,
And
he's your ultimate friend.
right,
Wants to treat Joe. He doesn't
right,
care about the guidelines,
right.
and
He's genuinely concerned about my well-being.
yeah,
And
he came back fine, and you said, "Oh, they won't give me chemo unless they irradiate me," and
right,
he got real mad.
yeah. And he didn't even know me.
No, but that was enough to know you.
Right.
You raised his ire.
Right.
Obviously, I don't. I mean, when we were there yesterday, 2 full rooms of people getting infusions.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it's hard for him to take more patients, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And
Just while we were there, room has 4 people, and there were some comings and goings.
right.
While we were there, he was probably treating 12 patients,
Oh, absolutely.
insies and outsies,
Yeah.
and you know, and each one of them, he knows exactly what they need and what they want. He knows it, and he's intimately aware of all the patients. And as you can see, takes you in that little room with the girl at the computer, kind of getting the notes down,
Yeah.
and he closes that door, and he starts asking you all kinds of detailed questions about your life and
Right.
recommendation. Hey, you better take some omega-3. And Joe, I'm rethinking the collagen a little bit.
Okay.
If you look it up, collagen is almost all comprised of the amino acid proline. It's a very unusual protein.
Oh, really? Okay.
Proline. You can look it up. You can look up the methionine content. It
All right.
must be very low, but I'm
Okay.
not sure about that. You take a look.
I'll do some research on it. Yeah.
This rather unusual amino acid, proline,
Okay.
in collagen, they're all linked together, a bunch of these prolines, and it gives it. Collagen is a structural protein.
Okay.
Your skin, rigid and stuff, and so I don't know. When Dr. Song recommends something, we listen.
Absolutely.
We have to do
Absolutely.
it, but we listen. And so, anyway, I hope. So take a look at it. If the methionine content is kind of negligible, it's okay, and it may be. But
Yeah, I will. I'll do some more. I'll do some further research.
I don't know that methionine.
I wanted to get into that a little bit because just to sort of rewind, when I sat with Dr. Song originally, it was about a year ago, and UCI wouldn't give me any more of the 3-drug combination that we came up with that was so effective.
It would, as long as you took radiation along with it.
Right. Yeah, they would have given, yeah, I had to agree to 30 rounds of radiation.
Cycle 6, maybe 7 cycle. You
Right.
got radiation because
Right.
you need radiation. That's the received knowledge. You can't treat head and neck squamous cell carcinoma without radiation. This is the received knowledge. Now Dr. Ishiguro is writing a new paper and saying, "Hey, wait a minute, we got a new paradigm. It's your second paper. We got a program. You don't need radiation.
Exactly.
Disfiguring surgery. Go for good. We will call it neoadjuvant chemo because it's before surgery that'll never happen, but still,
Exactly.
and go for good neoadjuvant. And as Dr. Song said, take a good slug of it and combine it with methionine restriction.
Yeah.
And ivermectin and all the other little things.
Yeah, I think the fasting and the oxygen therapy and the ivermectin and all that together helped.
It doesn't hurt.
Right.
And it might be helpful. And
Yeah.
you might even say it's probably helpful.
Yeah.
Certainly ivermectin and chemo boy, they're good together. There's a paper on PubMed already testing
Right.
ivermectin with a bunch of with methioninase compared to other drugs combined with methionase, first line drugs. Ivermectin beats every one of them and is about tied with doxorubicin. Holy moly,
Yeah.
good. So anyway, you know, little by little, but what we learned from you, Joe, the most important thing we learned from you, we don't have to get all disfigured and burned out. I mean, poor Craig comes on the on our
Right.
and he's such an intelligent guy.
Yeah.
He's really on his methionine restriction now, but his esophagus barely works. So
Right.
still 99% of his calories are a feeding tube because
Right.
radiation did so much damage to that esophagus that
Right.
yeah, he had the same as you. He had a tongue cancer. So
Right. That was the most likely negative side effect for me to deal with.
grabbed him early.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think he's probably recovering.
Oh, good.
He's very worried that, oh, I'm only taking the methionine restriction. I don't know. Maybe one of these times I'm going to tell him to go see Dr. Song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remind me that. Yeah, I mean, he could still be seeing Dr. Castro. I have all the respect in the world for Dr. Castro.
Sure.
It doesn't hurt to have a couple of docs treat you.
Right. Right.
Uh, eh,
But Dr. Castro specifically told me that I should get the radiation, and
that's the received knowledge,
I
Joe.
get it. I get it.
And
But
even
my gut instinct said I don't want it unless I have to.
no, finally he understands. Yeah, you,
Yeah,
you don't need it, but that took a lot of convincing, even for him.
I get it. I get it. And I respect the heck out of the guy. He's brilliant, you know.
Knowledge you cannot treat head and neck squamous cell carcinoma without radiation. You cannot, but
Right.
but you can. You can, and you know, and even if you eventually get it, what the heck is wrong with getting your chemo first and see
Right.
how far you can go?
You're right. Yeah, start with the least harmful and work your way out.
Let's bring it in.
Yeah,
And maybe some people will need it, Joe. We don't know that.
exactly.
I think there's going to be a bunch of people that won't need it,
Right.
and so that's a point that we can save a lot of people from it. My opinion. Now we have another patient in Japan, and she recurred with
Okay.
head and neck cancer
Okay.
after taking out her jaw and getting all the chemo and whatever radiation, whatever.
Yeah.
As she recurred, she was sent to hospice, but
Right. Because there's nothing more they can do.
she ended up with Dr. Sato, and she has a complete response. Immunotherapy. He's got his super immunotherapy. I don't know if it was the radiation immunotherapy, whatever, but and she's good. She's good. She's got no ADD, no evaluable disease.
I
So
love it. I love it.
you know, and she was sent to hospice.
Yeah. No, and you know,
We have a number of patients now, Japanese patients that were sent to hospice that are complete responders.
wow.
So, Jesus,
No,
you know, Doc says there's nothing more we can do. It's true.
but as a patient,
You know the story about we?
yeah.
Well, the Lone Ranger and Tonto were out riding on,
Okay.
on what was the Lone Ranger's horse? Io Silver or something.
Silver, yeah.
And some hostile Native Americans started coming at them.
Uh-huh.
The Lone Ranger says to Tonto, "What do we do?" And Tonto says, "What do you mean, we, white man?" That's my opinion about we. So, you know, the docs could say there's nothing more I can do.
Right.
Maybe you can find something better. I'm out. I'm exhausted. This is what I know. This is all I know. But go out and, you know, maybe find go find Dr. Sato or whatever. But they're not going to do that. When they end up with what they can do, go to hospice. And what
Agreed.
usually happens when people have metastatic cancer, it goes in 3 or 4 stages. First, you're given first-line therapy. Then there's often, for most cancers, second line, different chemo or radiation, whatever, and then that fails. And then you say, well, you can go on this clinical trial. And mostly it doesn't work. Judith is a miracle. I think she's on a good trial. And there are some good trials. And she's on,
Sure.
but let's say that fails, then the next step, hospice. That's where it is. And I would say these oncologists, the majority, maybe even the vast majority, follow that route.
Right.
First line, second line, maybe a clinical trial, and then hospice.
Wow.
And that's the way they go. And what an awful job to
Well, and especially
have your.
knowing the way I know and the way you know that there are so many options beyond those things that the doctors just don't know about or aren't willing to risk their whatever, their license or their
Not even
standing.
license. I think they're worried if they're just so trained to stay within the guidelines,
Right.
you know. Anyway, that's like
I
that.
wanted to touch on the other side of that coin. Oh, go ahead.
Good oncologist
Yeah,
is fantastic. The good oncologist.
agreed.
We know. In Japan, it's Dr. Tsunoda, Dr. Sato. These guys are fantastic.
And the difference, I think, is maybe it's the attention to the end game. Like, for example, Dr. Song, I did an MRI, I did a PET CT, I had an ENT evaluate it, and they said, well, it looks like there's no active disease.
Yeah, it looks like.
It looks like, but there was nothing certain about it in any way, shape, or form. And Dr. Song had gotten me approved for the Keytruda, which is a potentially very, very helpful immunotherapy that, could be a long-term treatment.
Oh, it already is.
And I'm on it, been on it for almost a year now, and no negative side effects. And as far as I know, it's working.
You're not recurring.
Yeah. So, but the point is, at where the Western United States medicine left it was that was all there was to do. Like there wasn't anything. Oh, and I even did the liquid biopsy test, the squamous cell carcinoma antigen test, and it came back negative. But again, it's not conclusive. It's another tell that says it looks pretty good. But there was nothing that I could go to sleep saying I don't have an active tumor in my
Well, went for MedPet.
exactly. So because I knew about it and because I knew you and I knew Chihiro and I was able to access this one clinic in the world and I was able to make an appointment and find my way to be able to get to Japan and I had Shihiro and Kuji that helped me get around and go where I needed to go, and I mean that was 7 miracles all stacked on top of each other,
Yeah.
and and because of that I was able to get this confirmation that said, okay, well, it's not there anymore, there's nothing where it was a something.
Yeah,
And
it's not, it still has a limit of detection. In my
of
opinion, it's far greater than, for most patients, than regular FDG PET that we get here. And in my opinion, I think you should consider going back in a year of your original MedPet. I think
agreed. But the
we
point
don't
is,
know that there, you can't know what you can't see.
Exactly. But the point is it's the most definitive instrument that we have today to determine if there's active cancer in your body.
Absolutely. And
And
how many people can get it?
exactly, 8 people a month.
8 people a month. Yep, that's eight
That's
people a month in that little clinic there. God bless them. Uh,
yeah.
8 people a month can get
That,
it.
that's it. I mean, it's a little more than 100 people. Yeah.
People in the 8 billion, whatever there is.
Right.
So, Dave and I had a really good talk with the medical oncologist at NCI that's in charge of the alternative therapy, or
Okay.
second in charge, or whatever.
Why don't you introduce who Dave is? Because I know some of our listeners have no idea.
Gosh, why don't you guys get the Met Pet in there? I, I, I'm sure they won't. I'm sure they won't. People don't want to deal with it because you have to make the radioactive methionine right in the. You have to have a very expensive cyclotron,
Right.
go through all this to make it, and half of it's gone in 11 minutes.
Right. Yeah. It only works for a bit. Yeah.
Half. So
Right.
that's why the minute that thing came out of the cyclotron,
Yeah.
you were right there getting the needle.
They pushed it in and ran me over to the machine. Yeah.
Yeah, and put you in that machine.
Yeah.
So
Very quickly.
they don't. The radiologist doesn't want to deal with it. The regular PET, the FTG, the half life, I don't know, a couple hours, whatever.
Right. They're never in a hurry. Yeah.
Delivered. You don't need a cyclotron,
Right.
and it's a piece of cake,
Right.
and they can collect a lot of money
Oh,
for
yeah.
the United States. You got yours for $3,000. I bet
Right.
here it's the
Oh, it's like 7. Yeah. I know. I've had to deal with 2 or 3 of them here.
7. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like 7 grand. And that's, yeah. I had to pay like $1,500 copay on it.
My spine, my stupid spine, and it was. I could see the charge there for Medicare paid that much. They try to squeeze a little more out of me. I said, no, you ain't getting it.
Well, so when I got these tests, as we talked about before, there was Dr. Sato pointed out that there was some activity in my prostate, which, I'm a 60-year-old guy. It's pretty normal that, something flares up in that region for most men.
No surprise.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't big hot spot, but he says, hey, you might want to get that looked at. There's something going on there.
There's no question. But it wasn't enough to give you a PSA signal.
All right. And not only that, the
You go next year, you'll see if there's more signal or not.
right. And the glucose CT didn't show it up. So only the Met PET did. So,
Yeah, no surprise there.
but I was able to take that information and bring it to Dr. Song and say, hey, look, it looks like we did it. And, he agreed with the results. And I said, but look, his report says that there's some activity going on in the prostate. I asked him, I go, can
We showed him the image.
yeah. I said, can we order a PSA test and a testosterone? And he's like, yeah. And so it's not just we have this one problem, he calls it problem number one. When he goes through his post-treatment consultation, he goes into his folder for me, and it's only been a year, and that thing's already about 3 inches thick. And it's all my blood work and all the history of all the infusions I've gotten and all the things. And he has this order of problems, and his list of problems started out as this malignant mass that I had, and that was problem number one. And then he'd go on to problem number two. And each time we sit down there, he walks through these problems. Well, I don't have the same problem number one anymore. And so that problem number one's been demoted into nothing.
He's always worried about recurrence. He makes your neck.
Yeah, you saw him. He felt everything around, and
And that's why you're on indefinite Keytruda. He doesn't want that. He knows it can come back. He
Right.
knows, and so, and that's his life's experience. And of course, those patients weren't on methionine restriction, but we don't know methionine restriction is a guarantee. We don't know.
No.
We're,
And I'm not counting on anything being a guarantee. So that's kind of where my point is right now.
we hope so, but we have to be diligent. We have to be vigilant.
Right.
And
Well, that's what I wanted to get to, is because now my mission has shifted. Originally my mission was I need to make this tumor go away because I knew it was there. And now that I believe it's not there anymore, I know that my body still has the propensity to make those tumor cells. It knows how to make them now.
I think that's right. And
And
a very good probability. We don't know because you
if it
can't.
gets the chance, I think it would try to make them again.
They're there,
Yeah,
below the radar.
right.
And
So because of that, I see my mission now as to continue to research and always look for new ways to detect if there's a problem. I mean, I'm aware of this, liquid biopsy that probably 6 months from now I'll ask for again.
on the on our Zoom, Dr. Kishari, whatever,
Yeah.
he says he's got some new technology for liquid biopsy. Okay,
Oh, all right.
come on, let us use it.
Yeah.
I'm all
And,
for it. And
and
that technology is really, I think, moving along pretty good. And so it's good. There's no question that maybe most cancers put out cells in the blood, and that's a great way to find them. So anyway, we're learning a lot. I like this field very much. The
well,
cir-
today I got back the results from my blood work. And so I got my PSA, which, well, you want to explain to the listeners what that stands for, what it means?
PSA is it's an acronym for prostate specific antigen. So it's a protein that is especially kind of fluffed off from a prostate cancer. It goes in the blood. And so you can measure it. You can measure it rather easily. Actually, the main test was invented in San Diego about 40 years ago for it. So it's the standard test for prostate cancer patients. There are prostate cancers that don't make it, and there's people that have high PSA that don't have cancer. But it's a very good marker, and just getting it once is not that informative, but seeing how it goes over time is very informative. And then
Well,
there's
the,
for prostate cancer, on and on and on.
I think the good thing is that unbeknownst to me, I had PSA test a year ago.
Yeah, and that's good. And now we see it's just about the same.
Right. So knowing that there wasn't a big spike.
There's variation, that's within the variation of the test. We call it the standard deviation.
Sure. But the point is it didn't spike up.
It didn't spike up. That's what we wanted to know more than anything.
Right. And so to me, that was the good news, was that it was flat across.
Anything about it right now.
And my testosterone level was in the normal range. It dropped a little bit, but I think the chemo might have been.
Chemo beat the hell out of it, probably.
Yeah. But it's still in the normal range, right? It's pretty much smack in the middle.
Yeah.
So that to me said, okay, well, as far as I know, I'm in the best place I could be right now. Now,
Place you could be.
so what that means, though, and this is so important for these people, because I know so many people that they go through a treatment and then they get diagnosed as, being resolved. It's not there anymore, and then they go,
I want to just mention one example.
yeah,
Leanne on our podcast was a very smart person.
yeah,
She was going with me. I don't have any more tumor. I mean, it's going and going and going. I said, Diane, we don't know that.
right,
And then she had this big talk. Obviously, she had this big talk with Dr. Castro because she
yeah,
really into the low methionine diet. So
Yeah.
she understands. She had triple negative breast cancer. That is
Yeah.
the most vicious, horrible cancers there is. And Dr. Castro did miracles for her,
Yeah.
getting it, to not be detectable. But she knows, she realizes, and Dr. Castro is agreeing with her, it can come back.
Yes.
So she's now into that diet big time, and that's good.
So I think my message to anybody who has ever been diagnosed with cancer, regardless of if it was treated, if you've been told you don't have it anymore, you're the rest of your life, you need to address it. You need to do
Absolutely.
whatever
What
protocols you
happens,
can.
whether you want to believe it or not, it is. And
Yeah,
especially breast cancer. Breast cancer, there's a whole bunch of data out there, people recurring after 25 years.
exactly. You just can't let go. And if you think that you can celebrate and go back to doing whatever you were doing before,
Every day.
yeah. And I just think that, take some time, celebrate, but then go back to your job of making sure it stays gone and double checking it every chance you get, every way you can.
All your life. Now, a lot of people don't want to hear that. They don't want to
Yeah.
hear it. Uh, my patient at the sushi shop, no, I don't need methionine restriction anymore. I'm good. Okay.
So I think the other point that I think is so important, I run into anywhere from 2 to 12 people a week that I encounter through the podcast, through just talking to people, or people now recommend people to me. They know what I've done and they say, hey, go talk to this guy. Maybe he can help you. 99% of them, I mean, out of maybe 95% of them, 1 or 2 out of 100 people will even take what I'm saying seriously enough to consider it and maybe take some action.
Part of that, Joe, maybe the biggest part of it, they go back to the doc. Never,
Right.
never heard of it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like all the oncologists that I said. In
I
fact,
got,
the guy was
I got
telling
a. How come we don't know about
exactly.
my we joke?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the same with a lawyer. You get yourself in legal trouble and you got a lawyer recommend or representing you. Well, guess what? Something goes wrong, you're the one going to get hung, not him.
The doctor says, I never heard of it.
Yeah,
The average person's going to say, F this.
right. And I had every oncologist that I came to, and remember, I had zero experience with this type of doctor in my life. Every doctor I was talking to, it was brand new world to me. I talked to the surgeon. I never talked to a surgical oncologist before. Talked to the radio oncologist. I never talked to one of them before. And they're all telling me different things, and they're all telling me they don't know anything about this. And I was like, well, maybe I can educate you. They didn't want to hear it.
For you to educate the doctor.
Right, exactly.
The story. You know why God wears a white coat?
Exactly.
Since he's a doctor. So,
Exactly. No, I get it. I get it. And I experienced it firsthand.
but you see how Dr. Song listens.
Yes.
He's 83 years old. He wants to learn every day something new.
Yep. No, 100%. So I guess my final point to this conversation is our Sunday meeting. And I keep talking about the Sunday meeting, but you know, every single time we talk, there's at least 2 or 3 doctors on the call that are doctors that are dealing with or have dealt with cancer themselves personally. So they're treating themselves as well as being treated by,
Both doctor or whatever, and the prostate cancer, Dr. Fox and
right.
Dr. Emil, they're
Yeah.
himself.
Yes.
And they know, these are brilliant guys, and
Incredible. In fact, this last,
this
I was
Dr. Emil, he's in his 6th year of past diagnosis with stage 4 lung cancer.
terminal. Yeah. I mean, it was,
Probably only him in the world. I don't know. And
yeah,
doctor said in the beginning, I hope I can see you in a year.
exactly. And here it is, 6 years later.
He's in the 6th year. It'll be
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
in the spring.
Well, even still, 5 years is beyond anybody's projection for,
It's many standard deviations.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they talk to you about a treatment and they look at the percentage of survival, nobody's looking at 5 years. They're looking at 6 months, a
Yeah,
year.
once look at the new drug for pancreatic cancer that everybody's
Right,
selling.
right,
Ooh, we got 13 months. Ooh.
right,
And if you look at disease-free survival, you got
right.
1 year is 0.
No change. Yeah. So, I mean, when I keep talking about this meeting and the importance of it, I was telling somebody that was at our ceremony this weekend, I was telling them about these things. I talk about this stuff all the time to everybody I meet. I'm like the apostle preaching the gospel. This is what I learned. I go, this is truth. I got to share it with everybody, and maybe somebody will listen. But I was the thing that I was telling him was about our meeting. I said, I have access to a database that is the most up to date. It's more valuable than any doctor has access to. I mean, except for the ones that come onto the call. I said, these are researchers that are actively researching.
Not only the researchers and the doctors on the call, but the patients. Everybody's getting so great information from each
Right.
other. And you can read all the books in the world and you can but learning from a cancer patient,
Well, and we're sharing real-time data,
the
you know,
ultimate teacher.
yeah, 100%, 100%. And, sometimes there's twists and turns, somebody goes, oh, I'm going along good. I'm doing everything's right. And then like Shahira, she was doing great. And then all of a sudden,
We
boom, she started spiking again.
was on that drug 3 years. So
Yeah,
those little resistant guys were growing and growing and growing, and finally it took off.
right. But then,
And not only were they resistant, they were more malignant. That's
right,
a big problem with resistance. The resistant cells are quite often, maybe most of the time, I don't know, but they can acquire greater malignancy. So it's real bad when you recur.
right. Yeah, you don't want it. And that's where I'm
Oh,
so very aware.
On. Eventually, the bad guys overcome the less bad guys, and
Right,
and that ain't good. And that's why this Gattenby, he go
right.
treat, let it come out, cancer grow a little bit, treat.
Yeah,
The worst guys can't take over. The less bad guys, less worse guys, keep the guys under control.
exactly.
And you give a little more drug and you never acquire resistance. So this adaptive therapy, whether it's a general thing or not, we don't know yet, but it sure isn't promising.
Well, and in that arena, one of the things that you've learned that really make me happy is that, I'm always concerned that, what if my cancer cells become resistant to my low-methionine diet and say, well,
Joe, let me just tell you this.
yeah,
I'll tell you what happened, what we've seen in the lab for 50 years.
right,
So when the cancer cells can become resistant to methionine restriction.
right,
What happens to them is the opposite of when cells become resistant to chemo.
right.
They lose their malignancy.
Yes,
So becoming resistant to methionine restriction is a good thing.
I agree, and that was my point. Was I wanted to bring
Now,
that
I
out. If
mean,
it happens,
in the clinic, we don't
yeah,
know, but we've
right.
seen time and time again in the lab experiments over 50 years. There was about a 45-year hiatus, but hey, what's 45 years among friends? It's so.
Well, Dr. Hoffman, as always, this has been an enlightening conversation, and
Me too, Joe.
I know sometimes we talk about similar things, but it's that important. I really feel strongly that each time we
Cancer. What's more important than cancer
exactly,
in this world? Nothing.
exactly,
Most important thing in the whole world is cancer,
yeah,
and treat it right, help people. All the wars and all that stuff, and they're no match for what cancer can do to you.
it's so true. It's
Um,
so true.
so there's nothing more important than cancer. Nothing. This is
Well,
it's the ultimate equal opportunity disease, and every one of us in this world can get it. And so we need to focus on it. And if we repeat stuff, we never repeat it exactly, but we want to get the point across. So
exactly.
what we want to do.
Yep, yep. Well, I thank you so much for your commitment, to working towards finding these answers. I respect your work tremendously, and I respect your work ethic and your commitment even more. So
For me, there's no choice.
well, and that's kind of my point. I'm just, that's where I am now too. So
We're,
we're,
we're, we're a great team.
I,
So
I, I agree.
hoping a lot of people are going to listen to this podcast and get a few grains of knowledge from it. Whatever you get, good. It's good. If you learn something, it's good. The more you learn, the better. And, you know, all of you, contact Joe anytime. And
Exactly. I'm always willing to help and
into a better world.
exactly. And you know what? We can come and talk about your story on the show. I love bringing in guests of patients that are in their journey and we can have a conversation about the road to healing.
Yeah,
And so, all right. Well, Robert, it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to talking to you again soon.
me too.
This
Thank
has
you,
been
Joe. Great.
another You bet. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Grumbine, and I want to thank all of our listeners for making this show possible. And of course, want to thank Dr. Hoffman for joining us once again, and we will see you next time. This has been another episode of the Healthy Living Podcast. We produce this show so that people can share their stories, people that have overcome obstacles, people that are undergoing obstacles. We're building a community of health-minded individuals. If you're interested in supporting the show, please leave a review on the platform you're listening to it on. If you're interested in becoming a guest, please send an email to itsjoegrumbine@gmail.com, or you can send a note into the notes section of the podcast. All right. Well, thank you for supporting this show, and we hope you've enjoyed it.